You can feel it in the air every time training camp reaches that point where the preseason games start to mean more than just a warm-up. It's the moment when jobs are truly on the line, when the hype around certain players starts to fade, and when the coaching staff has to make the tough calls that shape the final roster. And right now in Philadelphia, a few guys are sitting on what you could call the NFL's version of a hot seat. The kind of spot where every snap, every rep, every little mistake or flash of brilliance might tilt the balance between making the team or getting that call into the coach's office to hand in the playbook. Let's start with a name that's been stirring a lot of conversation: Adori Jackson. If you had asked me a couple of months ago whether he was a lock to make the Eagles' 53-man roster, I might have given you a more confident answer. But the way things have played out, the writing is starting to appear faintly on the wall. When the Eagles went out and traded for Jacorian Bennett not long before the start of the regular season, that move spoke volumes without saying a word. It's the type of transaction that tells you the front office and coaching staff wanted a fresh look at the position. They weren't completely sold on what they had, and they were willing to shake things up. Bennett is not just another camp body. He's young, he's fast, legit sub 4.4 speed, and he's already shown that he can earn a starting job in this league. When healthy, he's been productive, and the fact that he's still on a rookie contract makes him even more appealing in today's NFL, where cap flexibility is gold. Bringing him in this late in the offseason says that Philadelphia wanted to see if he could step right in and push for a starting spot, maybe even line up opposite Quinion Mitchell and give the secondary a different kind of athletic edge. Now, here's where it gets tricky for Jackson. His deal with the Eagles was never one of those massive long-term commitments that make it hard to move on from a player. It was a short-term, veteran-friendly agreement with very little financial consequence. If the team decides to part ways, that's not the kind of safety net you want when a younger, faster, cheaper option has just been added to your position group. And then there's Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, who, to put it politely, hasn't exactly been showering Jackson with public praise. In fact, Fangio made it pretty clear that bringing in Jackson wasn't his idea. He admitted he hadn't even sat down to study Jackson's film before the signing, framing the acquisition as more of a front office decision. That doesn't exactly scream "this is my guy" from a coach who has a very specific vision for his defense. Think about Jackson's career path. Drafted in the first round by the Tennessee Titans, but when that rookie deal expired, they let him walk. The New York Giants picked him up, gave him a chance, but when his contract was up there, they passed on re-signing him. Now he's in Philly on a modest contract, competing with a rookie the team just traded for. None of that suggests long-term stability, and the truth is, his preseason performance hasn't exactly silenced the critics. That game against Cincinnati, for example, didn't do him any favors. It's easy to point at Ringo's struggles in that matchup, and we'll get to Ringo in a minute, but Jackson didn't exactly lock things down either. This is where the Eagles might lean into a philosophy they've been flirting with for a while. Go younger, go cheaper, and grow together. They've assembled one of the youngest defenses in the league, loaded with players still on rookie deals or team-friendly contracts. That gives them flexibility, not just financially, but also in terms of development. A guy like Eli Ricks fits that mold perfectly. Undrafted, but promising, inexpensive, but with enough flashes of ability to make you wonder what he could become if given the reps. In that same Cincinnati game where Jackson and Ringo struggled, Ricks managed to put some good tape together, showing that maybe, just maybe, he could be the kind of depth corner who grows into something more. So picture the decision the coaches might be facing. On one hand, you've got Adori Jackson, a veteran you know well enough to predict his ceiling. On the other, you've got Eli Ricks, a younger, cheaper option with room to develop. The Eagles could easily decide to side with upside and potential over experience and familiarity. If it comes down to keeping one, there's a real argument for letting Ricks take that roster spot and seeing how far his talent can go. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the direction they choose. But Jackson's not the only corner in this conversation. Ringo's spot might not be as safe as some think. Yes, the Eagles traded up to grab him in the 4th round of the draft not long ago. And yes, he's got that prototypical size-speed combo that gets scouts excited. 6'2", over 200 pounds, blazing straight-line speed, but the development curve hasn't exactly been shooting upward. If anything, is leveled off. He's still young, still has the physical tools. But there's a difference between potential and production. And right now, he hasn't put enough on the field to guarantee anything. His college resume tells an interesting story. Had he declared for the draft a year earlier, he might have gone in the first or second round. But he returned to Georgia and struggled against top-tier competition, the kind of matchups you have to win if you want to be a cornerstone NFL cornerback. The knock on him isn't about size or speed, it's about the finer points of the position: lateral quickness, fluidity and change of direction, staying in phase with elite route runners. And when you go up against the best, those little gaps get exposed. That game against Jamar Chase was a perfect example. Chase is one of the best receivers in football, but you can't just throw your hands up and say, well, of course he beat him. It's Jamar Chase. This Eagles schedule is loaded with top quarterbacks and receivers, and if you can't hold your own in those matchups, you're going to be a liability. Since that game, the distribution of reps in practice has told its own story. Bennett and Jackson have been the ones getting the bulk of the first team work, while Ringo has seen less. That's not a great sign if you're trying to convince the coaches you're ready to start. It makes you wonder if they've started to lose a bit of confidence in him. And with a dead cap hit that's basically pocket change by NFL standards, moving on wouldn't be all that costly if they decide the fit isn't there right now. The tricky part is that cutting a young player like Ringo means potentially giving up on someone who could still develop into a starter. And the Eagles know that. They've invested in him, they've seen flashes, and there's value in keeping guys like that around if you can afford the roster spot. But in a league where every position group is a puzzle of talent, contracts, and roster limits, sometimes those tough decisions aren't about what a player has done wrong. They're about where the team needs to be strongest when week one arrives. That's exactly the atmosphere brewing in Philly right now. The secondary is in flux. New faces are getting long looks. Veterans are trying to prove they still have juice. And younger players are fighting to show that their best football is ahead of them. It's the kind of competitive environment that can bring out the best in some and completely expose others. And for players like Jackson and Ringo, every rep from here on out could be the difference between hearing their name called on final roster day or starting the season in street clothes. And it's not just the corners feeling the heat in this camp. There's another name that's been floating around in these conversations, and this one plays on the other side of the ball. A.J. Dillon, the bruising running back who came in with a reputation for downhill power and the kind of frame that makes defenders think twice before stepping into the gap. On paper, he's the type of player you'd love to have in your rotation. In reality, his spot on the 53 is anything but guaranteed right now. And it has less to do with what he's done on the field and more to do with the chess game of roster construction. Dillon is a veteran. That's important because in the NFL, veteran status changes the math. If the Eagles were to release him at the end of camp, he wouldn't have to go through waivers. That means they could cut him, stash him on the practice squad, and then call him up when they need him, all without worrying about another team swooping in to claim him. This opens the door for Philadelphia to get creative. Let's say they want to carry an extra tight end, maybe because they invested guaranteed money in guys like Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson and want to see both of them on the active roster. The easiest way to make room for that is to go lighter at running back on the initial 53 and then adjust later. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors have been swirling around the sports world recently after Joe Buck, the renowned sports commentator, allegedly made some disparaging remarks about the Philadelphia Eagles. Known for his typically neutral and professional commentary, Buck's unexpected criticism has sparked a wave of speculation and debate among fans, analysts, and insiders. The comments, which reportedly questioned the team's strategy and resilience, have not been officially confirmed. But whispers of discontent are spreading rapidly. Many wonder if this signals a shift in Buck's perspective toward the Eagles, or if it is simply an isolated incident blown out of proportion. The Philadelphia Eagles have long been a polarizing team, often praised for their passionate fan base and competitive spirit, but also scrutinized for inconsistencies on the field. Joe Buck's supposed remarks have only added fuel to this ongoing conversation, causing both supporters and detractors to dissect every word and motive behind the criticism. Could this be the beginning of a broader critique from one of the sport's most influential voices? Or is it a fleeting moment that will soon fade into the background? As the rumor mill continues to churn, the Eagles' response, or lack thereof, will undoubtedly influence how this story unfolds in the coming weeks. Speculation about Joe Buck's comments has taken on a life of its own, with many insiders suggesting that his criticism may stem from recent performances by the Eagles that fell short of expectations. Some believe Buck's frustration is tied to specific games where the team seemed to underperform, leading to questions about coaching decisions and player effectiveness. Others argue that the broadcaster's comments reflect a broader dissatisfaction with the direction of the franchise, which has seen significant roster changes and strategic shifts in recent seasons. Fans have taken to social media debating whether Buck's remarks are fair or simply an overreaction from someone who is expected to remain impartial. This chatter has reached such a fever pitch that some sports networks are reportedly considering inviting Buck to clarify his stance, hoping to quell the rising tension and prevent further division among viewers. Meanwhile, Philadelphia's local sports media have been quick to defend the Eagles, emphasizing the team's history of resilience and success despite challenges. The situation remains fluid, with new developments and reactions emerging daily, underscoring the impact that a single influential voice like Joe Buck's can have on the narrative surrounding a beloved team. Adding to the intrigue is the timing of Joe Buck's alleged criticism, which comes at a pivotal moment in the NFL season when every team's performance is under intense scrutiny. With playoffs approaching and the pressure mounting on players and coaches alike, any negative commentary can be magnified significantly. Rumors suggest that Buck's remarks might not only be about the Eagles' on-field results, but also about broader issues such as locker room dynamics, leadership questions, and front office decisions. Sources close to the matter hint that Buck's critique could signal a growing impatience with the Eagles' management, possibly reflecting frustration shared by some in the sports broadcasting community who expect more decisive action or clearer vision from the franchise. If true, this could herald a period of increased media scrutiny and public debate about the Eagles' future prospects. On the other hand, some insiders believe the comments were taken out of context or exaggerated, warning against jumping to conclusions without hearing Buck's full explanation. Regardless, the buzz has already created a ripple effect, prompting fans and analysts to re-examine the team's strengths and weaknesses with fresh eyes. The potential fallout from Joe Buck's statements is not limited to public opinion, but may also influence internal dynamics within the Philadelphia Eagles organization. Rumors circulating among team insiders suggest that management and coaching staff are aware of the growing media storm and are weighing their response carefully. Some speculate that the club might use this as a catalyst for change, either by addressing perceived weaknesses more openly or by reinforcing confidence through strategic adjustments. There is also talk that players could feel the impact of such high-profile criticism, possibly galvanizing them to prove detractors wrong, or conversely creating tension that affects team morale. The role of the media in shaping narratives around professional sports is well documented, and the possibility that a respected commentator like Joe Buck could be contributing to a negative storyline adds a layer of complexity to the Eagles' current situation. Moreover, this development raises questions about how much influence media figures should have over public perception and team dynamics, especially when their comments are speculative or unconfirmed. As the situation evolves, all eyes will be on both Buck and the Eagles to see how this swirling rumor translates into real-world consequences. Looking ahead, the buzz surrounding Joe Buck's remarks about the Philadelphia Eagles promises to keep the sports world engaged and divided for some time. Fans are eager to see whether Buck will address the controversy directly, potentially clarifying his position or retracting the comments that have caused such a stir. At the same time, analysts are already predicting how this episode could affect the team's trajectory this season and beyond. Some believe it might inspire the Eagles to elevate their game and silence critics, while others fear it could undermine confidence and contribute to further inconsistency. In any case, the intersection of media influence and athletic performance remains a fascinating area of discussion, with Joe Buck's situation serving as a case study in how powerful words can be in the high-stakes world of professional sports. As the Eagles continue their season, the narrative surrounding this rumored critique will likely ebb and flow, shaping fan reactions and possibly influencing the team's internal decisions. The rumor, whether fully accurate or partially exaggerated, has undeniably added an extra layer of drama to an already intense NFL season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.